Alright, here we go. It's the destiny of all Let's Players to eventually play Gen 1 Pokemon, so why try to fight it? I say we gotta embrace it. I skipped the opening cutscene. Let's redo that. I'm not making any effort to hide the fact that this is on an emulator. You all saw the thing. So I can't tell what that Pokemon facing away from the camera is. It kind of looks like a cross between Snorlax and Gengar, because it had the Gengar-shaped ears, but then also the claws. Also, the Pokemon rotate out on the screen if you leave it on for long enough. That's a pretty neat thing. I hit B by accident. The buttons are inverted. There's Professor Tree, like in the funny the Odds Ones Out video. No, what was that stupid asshole that made the funny Pokemon video? It's Jello Apocalypse. That's who it was. Yeah, it was kind of funny. If you like that hip millennial hyper energetic humor. Anyway, so we're gonna name our character Gary. Because, that's the opposite of what these characters are supposed to be named. It was Ash and Gary, but we can have Gary and Ash. Or maybe we'll just go with something completely different. Whatever that may be. Coming up on the spots, coming up with this stuff on the spot. I think what happened is I was just looking at the menu and I saw those 3 letters in succession, and well, the rest is history. Stu. What a name. Remember that episode of the... Oh wait, I'll get back to that. So they got the SNES there in the room because, all the Pokemon games have to have the current Nintendo system there to promote it and try and boost the sales. And I wanna be like Pokemon protagonist. I wanna have a TV on the floor in the middle of my house with a SNES. So anyway, what was I saying before this? So we named the rival Stu, and it just reminded me of that episode of The Simpsons where George Bush was their neighbor and he went to the drive-thru at the Krusty Burger and asked them if they had any stew. That does sound like something he would do. So anywho, so with the color palette, I went with the red and blue option. I thought that would be appropriate given the nature that we're playing Pokemon Red/Blue. That's more fitting than a lot of the other options. We could have gone with the default Super Game Boy color palette with the orange and the red. See how the words tiny and turtle weren't spaced out? Because there was probably some kind of character limit. There's all kinds of technical weirdness in the original Pokemon. A combination of Game Boy limitations and then also the fact that the game wasn't especially well programmed. Lots of small bugs hither and thither. For the sake of making this more bearable, we're gonna up the text speed so it doesn't take 300 episodes to get through this. He sure does walk slowly. Watching him slowly meander on over to you in 30 FPS with that music playing was kind of humorous, I must say. So, first observation here, that white line over Squirtle's head makes it look like he's got like a mildly concerned eyebrow, and an elderly looking eyebrow with that because it's white. So he just kind of looks like an old man. The sprite art in this one's kind of different. They looked a bit closer to actual animals in this one compared to in previous games. They kind of made the style more cartoony after this because they had the anime to base it on, and and fans complain that the sprites in the game look different than the anime, so that was the impetus to start changing the art style. Would have been interesting if they had kept this more slightly realistic art style for future games when the level of detail was higher. Always interesting to think about how things could have turned out. And there he goes, slowly. Running hadn't been invented yet. Professor Oak didn't have anything of value to tell us just then. Call me crazy, but I feel like I just noticed the letterboxes on the side of this video. Were those there from the outset and somehow I just didn't see them? That's freaking crazy, dude. Yeah, so here's a good example of how the art style's changed. Pidgey looks much more like just an ordinary bird compared to future redesigns where there's lots of anime style sharp edges and pointy eyes and such. If you compare this particular sprite of Pidgey to, let's say, Pokemon Gold, the shift in style is quite apparent. The music hiccuped a little. I don't know if that was an emulator thing or if that was just a Game Boy thing. The world may never know, as they say in those commercials with the funny lion that... the funny owl that bites down on the lollipop. Why did I say lion? God. So anywho, so what have I been doing lately? I know that's always an interesting topic for you guys. I got more upscaling cables for my various game systems, so I was playing around with those earlier. For the N64 one, the colors are a bit wrong. Mario seems to have a light green tint to him that's not supposed to be there, so that's something I'm gonna try to fix in post for future N64 episodes. Or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just post them as is. We shall see. I always like the game design theory that the idea of the Pokemon Center is that it's punishing you for not using the potions by wasting your time, because it does waste a fair amount of time to use it, so I don't know if that's just total garbage or if that's an actual, thing that the developers thought of. Who knows? Anywho, I don't think you can actually buy any items at this point. I guess we're not even gonna try it. Well, we got a level 6 Squirtle with us. I think we can get back there fairly safely. The audio's starting to get a bit out of sync. That's just a hallmark of this channel. Well, we didn't even have to battle anybody on the way back. How about that? Let's see. Maybe I should have watched some episodes of the Pokemon anime before actually filming this. It would have given me more to talk about. Did you ever notice how in one of the first couple episodes, Ash sees the Pokemon Ho-Oh off in the distance, and which is quite strange because Ho-Oh was a second generation Pokemon, so what was it doing in the first generation of the anime? That didn't make no sense. And the show doesn't even really address it. The talking Pokédex just says something along the line of, you don't need to worry about that right now. And, they don't want the audience to think about it too hard for whatever reason. Makes you wonder how many of the more recent Pokemon actually had their designs drawn up many years in advance and they just held on to them. I think there's at least a few like that. I know there was a fifth generation Pokemon. I believe it was called Mana, the Dream Pokemon, and I believe that was originally intended to be part of Gen 1. I could be wrong though. And I read a post on GameFAQs once that there was another Gen 5 that was called like Duckit or Ducklet that they said that made an appearance in the Gen 1 anime somewhere where it gets strangled by an Ekans, they said. I gotta make an effort to find that to see if that's actually real, cause if they had planned things that far out, that would just think if it was 1998 and they were showing us stuff that wouldn't actually be revealed until 2010. Just they were that committed to the idea that occasionally the new Pokemon would sneak into the original era and you wouldn't see them addressed until a much later date. That would really be some commitment. Let's see, they don't officially sell potions at this portion of the game yet. For whatever reason, I guess they figure since you don't have enough money for it or whatever. Because there's only been one trainer battle at this point. So yeah, the potions come later. And I was just taking a second look to make sure that maybe I hadn't missed it. Time for me to consult my list of topics for when I run out of stuff to talk about. Okay, we got a couple of things, but I just wanted to address that we can't get too far in this area here, because if we go up those steps that you saw a minute ago, we're gonna have to fight Gary again. They spring you with that surprise trainer battle. That's how they get you. So yeah, we just want to stay in this little patch of grass while it's safe. So, I'm getting back to my list of conversational topics. So, earlier today I was thinking about the old cartoon that I used to watch as a lad. It's kind of cringy to talk about this, but it was Shaolin Showdown. And I don't know why, it just popped into my head recently. I think I should rewatch it soon and see if it holds up. I'd imagine it won't hold up especially well. It's always funny to go back and rewatch stuff you saw as a kid and now you recognize the voice actors. Like the main Shaolin Showdown character was Tara Strong, and then the white guy, as you know, they had I guess there was more than one actually, but they had a multiracial group of characters, but the pale white guy, he was voiced by Tom Kenny, and then the funny dragon, he was Wayne Knight. And yeah, it's always a treat to go back. Well, I guess that's not the right word to describe it, but it's kind of interesting to relook at these things with adult eyes, and you notice things that you hadn't quite noticed before. I remember when I watched the show as a kid, I kind of got frustrated with it because they took the series in a different direction. Because originally the main focus of the series was the magical items and all the different things they could do. They were I don't want to say the actual name because I feel like that's going to be kind of cringy. But anywho, so yeah, they had the magical items, I'm just going to call them that. So they had like a special coin that could make you do flips if you held onto it, and they had an orb that it had ice powers and ice would shoot out of it, and there was the reversing mirror, and each item had a unique thing that it could do, and I really liked that because it made the show unique. Just an observation, but I feel like Nidoran didn't do its tackle animation correctly. I think the video kind of bugged out. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying about Shaolin Showdown, they kind of moved away from the unique items and started taking the series in a different direction, and the the items really just became like a backdrop rather than the main focus, and as a kid that kind of frustrated me. Okay, it's funny nickname time. Let's see what we got here. Okay, kids. Arnold's is proud to present Kenosha, Wisconsin's very own Weezer. I was thinking about naming it, well yeah, the name's right there. You know, like the character from the Neverhood and Skull Monkeys and other games, presumably, but that wasn't gonna work, so since Nidoran is the female version, we'll go with a nice classy lady's name. There we go. And I was, when I came up with that name, I was thinking of that music video with Kanye West in it, and he has that line about the Pips and they Gladys. Because, you know, there's a reference to Gladys Knight in the Pips, and it just kind of got chewed up in his speaking mannerisms, should we say. And, you know, it's funny, that the video I'm thinking, I feel like my voice cracked in a weird way and make me sound all stupid. It's funny. But anyway, stay focused here. It's funny that the video I was thinking of came out like 12 years ago, but if you look at Kanye in the video and then Kanye in the present day, and he pretty much just looks the same. He really hasn't aged. It's probably all gonna catch up to him at once, and then one day, just in a flash, he's gonna age 60 years over the course of just a few minutes, and it'll be a sight to behold. Be just like that Far Side comic where Dick Clark aged 200 years in 10 seconds, and kind of unfortunate that they weren't that far off with what happened, because Dick Clark had a stroke, and just kind of disturbing, because it seemed like he was eternally youthful, and then all of a sudden old age just really dropped on him. How sad. So we're gonna be stuck in this patch of grass for the rest of the episode, because I was trying to find a Spearow, almost said Fearow, but then I corrected myself. Don't want to say the wrong thing and upset the Pokemon people. You know how they get. Just look at how they reacted to Pokemon Sword and Shield. These are people with no lives. If you upset them, they can dedicate all the time in the world into ruining your life. So yeah, surprisingly, it took me a long time to find the Spearow. The encounter rate didn't seem to be that bad. Come to think of it, were the encounter rates really, like, documented for these older Pokemon games? Because I looked at the Cerebi.net for further information, you know, on where to find stuff, and I don't think they mentioned a capture rate, because I know they do have those for the newer games, because I remember as a lad being just kind of puzzled by the fact that there was this random Pokemon that only appears on one day, and it had a capture rate that was lower than that of the legendaries. I think it was Metang. They just did not want you to catch that damn thing. I wonder if maybe they typed in a variable wrong when they were coming up with the catch rate. Who knows? Alright, so join us for more Pokemon some other day.